ends of boycotts to our history, but not every boycott is legitimate or just.
When you spoke to her about it, what did she say?
She disagreed, and I don't know that if she's read the resolution. This resolution recognizes the right of Americans to petition their government, to take actions, to express their views. But as I was saying, not every, in particular this case, BDS is neither legitimate or just in its effort to delegitimize the state of Israel, to refuse the Jewish aspiration for a homeland.
The House Speaker talked about BDS when she spoke to AIPAC, the American Israel lobbying group, back in March. Listen to what she said.
We must also be vigilant against bigoted or dangerous ideologies masquerading as policy, and that includes BDS.
I assume you agree with that statement?
100%.
So if BDS is bigoted, are those who support it, your colleagues, bigoted? Or in this case, because we're talking about Jews, anti-Semitic?
Well, I can't speak. There are a lot of people who support the BDS movement, but they may not necessarily understand the intent or the expression of how BDS movement is actually what it's fighting for. The fact that it's not just fighting against the occupation of the West Bank or Gaza, it denies Israel's connection to the land going back to 1948.
But you said you explained that to your colleague, Rashida Tlaib.
I have, and she has her narrative, and she has her experience. I'm less concerned about...
But you don't take it a step further and say that... A lot of people who are looking at the opponents and listening to the opponents who very much support this resolution because they think BDS is anti-Semitic, they are ascribing that anti-Semitism to these lawmakers, your colleagues. You don't agree?
So I'm not going to subscribe it necessarily to the supporters, but the movement itself, its intent, its goals are anti-Semitic in intent. The expression of BDS, what we see on college campuses, the intent to create harassment, hostile environments for supporters of Israel on college campuses, to make it difficult for companies that are doing business with Israel in the United States and around the world, that is by its very nature anti-Semitic. The movement itself has anti-Semitic means, uses anti-Semitic means. That's why it's important tonight that we're going to have more than 75% of the House co-sponsoring a resolution condemning the global BDS movement.
I don't want to beat this anymore, but how does, if somebody supports a movement that you just very clearly laid out, you believe has anti-Semitic means and is an anti-Semitic movement, how do you disconnect or separate the people who support it from the movement itself?
So very simply, the fact that they support this movement, I believe they have a understanding of what they believe the movement does without fully understanding the impact of it.
Okay, last question. The Congresswoman I was just talking about, Omar, Tlaib, and even John Lewis are pushing an alternative resolution, as you know. They're trying to get a vote on a resolution that just says people should have the right to protest. What do you think of that?